Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to LaughingPlace.com's discussion of the D23 Expo schedule. I'm Rebecca Mosley, the co-founder of Laughing Place, and with me is our CEO over here. It's Ben. Hey, Benji.
Hi.
How you
How are you?
doing?
I'm okay.
Can you believe the expo is nearing? I can't believe it myself. I
No,
want to say it's like 23. Is it 23 days away? No, it
it's
can't be that
literally
close.
no, it's literally 23 days away today. As of today.
That blows my mind. See, even Character Kingdom says no way. Um, we are live, so if
Way.
you do have questions, we'll do our best to answer them. This will be our seventh expo. We have attended all of the expos, and Ben has also attended other D23 events, like their destination events, which are of a smaller nature. So if you have questions regarding kind of what the experience is like, we'll do our best to answer that. But we thought we'd kind of discuss what's been announced as far as the schedule goes and some of the highlights, and maybe give you a little bit more information about panels that perhaps you don't necessarily know what they are on the surface. Yes, Mr. Ben.
Sure. So, and I think what's we should talk a little bit about what you can do right now, which is as of today, you can, if you have a ticket, you can book stage passes for, or you can put your interest in for stage passes. So the Hall D23, the big hall, that's a separate process. So you can pick of the two that are happening, you can prioritize one or two. And then for stage pass for the other stages, you can pick four and prioritize 1 through 4 what you want to see. So the point is that basically when you're looking at the schedule, you want to kind of similar to Comic-Con, you want to balance out your interest versus perceived demand while also throwing in venue size. So, I think we'll talk a little bit about where we think the good value is for this. There's a little bit of gamesmanship you play. Now, there's obviously a standby line for everything, but obviously, when on September 2nd, they'll let you know what you get, and it'll take a little pressure off if at least you're getting something. So, and sometimes we're going to use our experience to kind of say what we think may be a hidden gem as well, so that you maybe want to put it, because if you put in for all the big stuff that everyone else wants, your percentage of chance of getting what you want is lower. So you want to really find those ones that might be the title might not be as big of a deal, but you want to kind of it'll get you a chance to see something by
And
putting it on your list.
and just to give you a sense of the scope of this event, we put into our database here for us to work through it with Laughing Place, and I had 76 listed events, just that are ones that are specifically with a time on them. That totally overlooks the fact that there's going to be various merchandise offerings. There's going to be all these different what they call activations, where you get to kind of step into environments that are based upon these Disney realms that we enjoy. We saw this recently with Comic-Con, where you had Abbott Elementary, and you kind of just stepped into the world of Abbott Elementary. And that itself was an experience that doesn't necessarily, have a specific point on the schedule. So it's a really, really big event, and it's easy to get so narrowly focused on the panel. But that's just a portion of it. It is a bit of an anchor, but it's just a portion of everything you're going to be doing. Yes, Mr. Ben.
This is a good question. I don't know the answer.
You don't know what this is in the
It
background?
looks like one of the Disney Cruise Line chandeliers.
That is exactly what it is. My favorite Disney Cruise Line chandelier. It is from the Dream. It is found in the atrium. It is one of my favorites. I actually also use it as the background image of my Make It Yourself Visa card. So there you go. A little known secret about me. But hey, so let's start off by looking at the way the day will start at D23. Now, the big event of D23 on that first day is listed at 10:30, and that's the Disney Legends award ceremony, and that's in Hall D. Yes,
Right.
Ben.
So it's in Hall D23. I will say the first day keep in mind that entry into this thing will be smoother every day. So those early morning presentations on Friday, um, I want to say it'll be, smooth as pie, and I hope it is. But sometimes there's a little bit of education amongst the guests and the staff, particularly since there's a lot more stage capacity this year. So there's Hall D23, which is the big stage in that holds like 8,000 people. The premiere stage is the second biggest, followed by the backlot stage, Hyperion stage, and archive stage. There's a lot more capacity than in the past, but do keep that in mind that if you're looking for like The Simpsons in the premiere stage here at 10:45, that's going to be a big stage. So they're going to have more stage passes that'll be given to that one versus an archive stage.
Raphael, here's my tip for first timers. This is not going to a Disney theme park. Disney theme parks are very efficient in the way that they move people around, in the fact that things start on time, end on time. There's a reliability in your experience when you go to Disney theme parks. This is a fan convention. And with that, there is a lot more, I will say, disorganization. There's a lot more challenges in getting information to you. So I would highly recommend that you make sure you have the app and that you're comfortable operating the D23 Expo app. I would also suggest that you find their Twitter account, along with the Twitter account of other Disney related sites like Laughing Place and others out there who will be at the expo, because they will be pumping out information as things happen at the event through their Twitter channels as well. And so that's where I'll start off with my tips. How about you, Ben?
This is more of a sort of emotional tip, but focus on what you get to do and not what you didn't get to do. Because if you're looking at this, in the 10 o'clock hour, you have Stacia Martin's doing her Sounds Delightful presentation. You have Cesar Millan, Better Human, Better Dog, from the famed Nat Geo show. Inside look at the Society Explorer and Adventurers, the Sea Thing from Jungle Cruise and Adventureland, the Legend Ceremony, and The Simpsons. Even if you had ultimate access, you could only do one of those 5 things.
Right.
And so, and everyone's focused on the big Hall D23 things, and there's a reason. They're the big showstoppers. But if you don't get into one of those, then that means you still get to do something else that might be a more intimate experience. And quite frankly, sometimes, those are a lot more informative. Yeah, if you want to see the big announcements, but the thing about announcements is they're announced and then everyone knows them. Whereas there's not going to be as much coverage about the Society of Explorer and Adventures panel, because everyone's going to be focused on the Legends Awards. I mean, we'll try and do our part, but that you're going to have a much more intimate experience at something like that, where you might even have a chance to really learn something, as opposed to the Legends Ceremony, which will be on YouTube. And, so don't worry about what you don't get into, because you will still have a good time. And you're just going to waste a lot of emotional energy being upset instead of enjoying yourself.
Historically, the archive stage has been a venue where they do not permit any recording of any type. Not even press has been, in many, many cases. I won't say 100%, but I will say that most of the presentations I have attended in the archive stage area has not permitted any kind of recording. And those are some, and so, if that's something that you want to take into account as you make your plans, other venues you may find, for example, like Ben is pointing out, the Hall D23 events, at least portions of that for sure will be released, because those are where the big announcements are going to be made. However, there is a certain anticipation and excitement of being there. That's also where a lot of the celebrity sightings will be as well. But starting off at 10 a.m. The Sounds Delightful presentation by Stacia, I've actually attended her presentations in the past, and I know Ben has had the privilege of chatting with Stacia as well. And the Sounds Delightful has tended to focus specifically on historic vinyl recordings. So we've heard things like outtakes of Walt Disney and things like this. So it's real stuff you won't hear anywhere else. And it's just, and she herself has this passion for Disney history and just Disney in general. She's delightful. And so I just want to pitch. Sounds delightful, but go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, and I think Justin has a good point. It's like the excitement to be in the room when it happens is cool for a moment, and then eventually the movie or the theme park ride will open, and then that you were there when they announced it's not nearly as interesting. So, whereas, and I'm not saying don't go, and if you get in, don't overweight those presentations when you have someone like Stacia Martin who knows more, who has forgotten more about Disney than I know, and going through her audio extravaganzas where you're going to hear things that you're only ever going to hear in that room unless you have an extensive audio collection like Stacia Martin, which I don't. So don't be upset if you don't win a Hall D23 lottery. It's just don't let that ruin your day.
Let's see.
I should answer this question. We're going to do a whole thing about the show floor and everything, but the number one booth you should visit is our booth.
Yes, Laughing Place. We're going to have a booth for sure. But yeah, we will be doing a talk on the show floor as we get closer to the event. But in looking at this schedule, sounds delightful. That's Stacia Martin. That's a look at Disney audio history. The inside look, that's going to be with the author of the book series that's coming out, that's kind of more fleshing out, and that is already out. Book 1 is already out. You can find the review of that book on Laughing Place. And so, if at initial look, you aren't grasping what that's about that secret society that is hinted at here and there throughout Disney. And it's going to have a Disney Plus show, Ben. Am I remembering that correctly?
So Disney branded television was working on a C television show. I do not know the integration that it will have with the publishing.
Gotcha.
Group. Okay. But that's one of those things that they could make that announcement right there. They might not, but they could. And everyone's going to be at Legends. Also, I think The Simpsons here is a good value play because getting the cast of Simpsons is always just hilarious because they're a bunch of goofballs. But it's also in one of the bigger stages. And it's not mainline Disney. It's not like, parks where everyone, so you might have a chance. Whereas Comic-Con, it's a lot harder to go see The Simpsons. If you are a fan of The Simpsons, I would definitely consider trying to make that one of your stage passes because I think that will be one that will be a lot easier to obtain.
But once again, historically, day one of the expo, entrance in those first 2 hours of day one has historically been a nightmare headache.
Right.
I typically don't even go. I take I don't plan to go to any of those. I actually have historically gone to Disneyland on the first day of Expo, had a breakfast, visited it because it was quieter, and then popped into the Expo after lunch once the line has died down. And at that point, I was able to walk in simply. I didn't have any kind of queue to get through. But hopefully those kinds of challenges won't be faced this year. But just so you know, historically, day one, entrance those first 2 hours is quite challenging and can take a long time. Anything else in these first few hours that you want to showcase, Ben, as we kind of look through the schedule here?
One thing I would just say, the home economics, not so much that I'm selling this one, but the reason I was like, when they announced the schedule, I was like, oh, that's weird. Home economics, out of like all the ABC shows, their season premiere was filmed at Disneyland and will air September 21st. So they'll probably talk about that. So you'll probably hear stories about like what it's like to film at Disneyland, which may be interesting to you. I also would say another one of the sort of safety bits on this is the Disney and Marvel Games Showcase. Once again, it's only going to cater to a certain number of people, but it's always good to go to the ones where they're really trying to push something to you, which is what they're doing here. So, and it's again on the bigger stage. So, and that's sort of like, it's like a mini Hall D23 presentation where there'll be announcements and things like that. So if you have an interest in, what I thought was interesting is it's called the Disney and Marvel Game Showcase, but it's supposed to show games from across the Walt Disney Company, including Star Wars. So the name implies to me that's going to be focused on Marvel more than Star Wars. Otherwise, it would be the Disney Marvel Star Wars game showcase.
And this is an interesting presentation, and then it's actually initially a streaming event. So it'll be streaming at the hall, and then it'll be followed up by a presentation with the developers and whatnot, and will include various exclusive giveaways. So
right. And if you're at home, we know that they're going to be live streaming several of the presentations. We don't know exactly what they're going to be, but we know that the Legends Awards and the game showcase are two of the ones that you'll be able to watch at home.
Okay. Cool. So there you go. And this, do you have any idea on this Disney Bundle Pavilion stage? Is this on the show floor, or is it
on the show floor? It's similar to in my head. I mean, without knowing specifics, to the Disney Plus stage they had, where it was in that booth. So it'll be smaller presentations, 15, 20 minutes. This isn't something you camp out for. It's something you might see, kind of from a distance. I believe they're usually elevated and then on the screens. It's not, they don't have stage passes for that.
Right.
Just on the show floor.
And for like I say, this is my 7th expo. I typically shy away from the large presentations. I'm not a fan of the enormous convention center presentations. So those I tend to shy away from. I'll pop into them if at door close, there's still seating available and I can just walk in, but I typically don't queue. So I don't tend to get into very many of those. However, I do end up seeing a lot of those same speakers talking about those topics in a more casual way and a much shorter way through these various stages that they've had on the show floor. I know they have this Disney Bundle Pavilion stage listed. I've also seen what they're calling the D23 Live stage. I see that, but I haven't seen a lot of programming yet announced for that stage, but I've seen it listed. They also will have an area called Talent Central that seems to be a bit of a presentation style as well. But once again,
Talent Central will be autographs.
Anything. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Right, but Talent Central will be autographs. So that's where you get that moment with this one-on-one.
Okay.
That's and you can get talent pass reservations for that. But that's a more intimate experience. Obviously, because it's one-on-one ish, it's the capacity of those are pretty small.
Right. And more information about those, what he's talking about, the Talent Pass, the app currently still says coming soon. So obviously we'll keep watching that, and we'll let you guys know as soon as we know anything. And I'm sure they will have push notifications.
You can make reservations for that. You can book those reservations now too.
You can?
Do the, so when you go make the reservations, there'll be 4 buckets: Hall D23, which, as I said, is its own sort of stage pass. The stage pass where you can pick 4, booth activations where you can pick 4, and then talent pass where you can pick 4.
Okay.
But the talent pass and booth activations don't have times, so it makes it a little challenging because you don't want to double book yourself. So
gotcha. Okay, so you said the talent pass doesn't currently have times.
No.
Okay, so you can put in there who you want to see, but you don't know when it is, and it could end up being the same time as your big passes.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have yet to sit down and do my reservations. I kind of thought, I'll go through the list with Ben and then see what I.
And there's no rush as long as you get it done this week, and you can change after you book them. You don't need to be the first person to put it in. It doesn't get you any value.
Cool. Continuing with Friday, they're gonna have the crew from Mickey Mouse Club. That's the 90s edition. Some of them went on to be in the party. And by the way, if you look at their Twitter account, I want to say Always in the Club, they're actually coming and doing a special fundraising concert on the 9th at I want to say it's the House of Blues, but I'll pull that up while we talk about the schedule.
The Marriott?
Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah. I'll double check it while we chat. And then the Disney 4 Scores podcast live. Okay. I don't think they have specifically listed in the schedule who this is going to be, but I have my hope.
Who do you hope?
I really hope we see Giacchino.
Oh, yeah, well, that would make sense.
And so knowing his history with Marble Score and then knowing his future directing an upcoming Marvel Halloween thing, right? And he on the docket for that.
Presumably.
Right, right, yeah. But this is actually based on a podcast that's out there, a regular podcast hosted by Variety's John Burlingame.
Yeah, John Burlingame from Variety. He's their like score reporter.
So he'll be there. And then I'm also, my other hope, fingers crossed, would be that we'd see Alan Silvestri. That would be my hope, because he once again did Hawkeye, but he also has kind of a rich Disney resume as well. Beyond
he did that. Da, 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 da. I mean, you don't get more Marvel than Alan Silvestri. I mean, he made the
Yep. So yeah. So those are kind of where my fingers are crossed in hopes for this Scores podcast. But there isn't any announced talent yet. Go ahead.
And if you listen to the podcast, John Burlingame is a perfect host for this. You know, sometimes it's frustrating because you go to these things and you have a great panel and a terrible moderator. I'm not talking necessarily D23, but any of these sort of convention type things.
Entertainment convention.
He knows his stuff, asks the right questions, talks about it personally, musically, storytelling wise. He's not, he understands, he doesn't view popular music, popular movies as any less, maybe, than, so he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder in that regard, and really knows his stuff. So he's a great moderator.
Justin, as the event gets closer, I know some of the podcasters do broadcast straight from the expo floor. I know Lou Mangello of WDW Radio has done that. So be sure to follow your favorites and find out. I don't know if we'll be doing it. We are all shoulder to shoulder and fingers busily typing, because there's just so much coverage that we are in the midst of. So I don't know how much podcasting we'll do directly from the show floor, but we'll see as we get closer. I'm sure any kind of stuff happening like that from Laughing Place, we'll be sure to let you know. This Hall 23 D23 event, Ben, that's the highlight of Friday afternoon. What's the big showcase that'll be there?
This is, every year they kind of change things up. This year is they're splitting up their studios into 2 days. One is going to be Disney and Pixar, so that's Disney live action, Disney animation, and Pixar animation, and it's going to be across their output. So that means, for example, last year or last Expo they did studios, I think animation studios and Disney Plus. This year they're doing studios, so Pixar, even if it's going straight to Disney Plus, would live here, and same thing with Marvel. They're not going to have a specific Disney Plus presentation. Okay. So this is going to be, new animated films from Disney, Pixar, talking about the one, Strange Worlds, Elemental, but also, Win or Lose, the Pixar series coming to Disney Plus, live action, on theatrical and Disney Plus, not specifically. So Disney has Disney branded television and Disney Studios. And on the Disney Plus side, if you can tell the difference, that means you've been paying attention. So, like Rise, the Disney Plus movie, or Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the Disney Plus movie, came from the studios. Zombies 3 and Secret Society of Second Born Royals and documentaries like Mija are from Disney branded television. So they're different. I don't know that there's that, but in any case, this will be from the studios, talking about theatrical and Disney Plus projects. So this is, you're going to get your celebrities here. You're going to get trailer reveals, title reveals usually, and stuff like that.
And yes, Walt Disney's plane is going to be on display at D23, compliments of Amazon. It's going to be there along with some curated items from, I guess, the panel. There's going to be a carry bag that would have been utilized in the travel era. So
that's one of my top presentations for this day, the 6:00 presentation about the plane. It has a long history. Also, talking about how they restored it. So that's one I'm going to try and get into. I will also say you're going to see at 5:45 the Hyperion stage is going to have a special screening of the Epic Adventures of Bertie Gregory. don't waste. It's one thing if like you don't waste your stage pass on a screening that you're gonna be able to watch on Disney Plus, like literally the day before. You know, even if he's there, there's going to be, you know, there's talent there. Go to if you're going to see a Nat Geo thing, and I highly recommend you do, because these are people that in an alternate world that if they weren't at a Disney convention, you'd be paying $50 to hear them talk about what they're experts on.
Mm-hmm.
But don't do it for a screening that you can watch on Disney Plus on the plane home. Do it for, you know, the presentations where they're actually talking about what they're passionate about.
And a lot of these Disney Bundle Pavilion stage items, once again, those aren't reservation locations. Those are smaller venues. Chances are they're ones where you're just going to kind of wander by and stop by and watch for a bit. These are going to showcase people like animator Eric Goldberg, the creative director for the new Cars on the Road series is going to be doing a presentation. So once again, those are ones that you stumble on. These are what kind of fill the gap for me, because I don't go to the big announcements. You know, it's the same people in many cases who then are in these smaller venues for a much shorter period of time, just a little tidbit, and then you move on. And I like that because I'm all about the various activities and events, and I get very challenged and frustrated if I'm constantly feel like I'm up against a clock. So
I also want to say about the archive stage. There's a lot of great stuff here. I mean, the '90s Mickey Mouse Club, the Waltz Plane, the Disney Legends. That's a smaller stage, so put that up higher if there's something, especially if it's something that you might not get to see all the like. Not that we don't always get to see Disney Legends walking around, but you know they tend to do these kinds of things. But you know, like the Mickey Mouse Club crew, they're not always around. If that's something that's interests you, make sure you mark that one high, because that's a very passionate fan base, and it's a smaller stage.
do you have any idea what to expect when it comes to these Hulu dance parties that they keep talking about? What is it that Hulu would want to showcase with their dance party, other than just high energy? I was just trying to think, like, any particular branding?
So here's the thing about the expo. Unlike Comic-Con, everyone has to participate. And so sometimes you have to come up with something like ESPN Plus's sneaker exhibit last time.
Oh, that's right.
You are being a good sport, and you are participating. So sometimes you can win and see something that's really awesome, and you know, because they're there, and you know, like obviously WDI, like the Parks Pavilion, like everyone there is going to want to see that. But if you're really into sneakers, this is a place you can go and see it. That maybe if you're at SneakerCon would be a big deal. Not as big of a deal here, but you still might check it out. And so
Okay.
yeah, I would not overthink the Hulu presence as much as the bundle is what the messaging is. So therefore, the bundle must be present.
Gotcha. Moving on to Saturday, the Disney Bundle Pavilion stage is going to be featuring the Frozen filmmakers. It's going to be featuring an animator from Solar Opposites. We're also going to have a Meet the Muppets conversation with Taj Mowry.
That's if you want to see that, that's the one time where I would say at the bundle stage, you should probably get there a little early.
Okay.
Taj Mowry, who I swear I've seen since Full House, like 45 years ago, whatever it was, and who's in the new Muppet Mayhem movie series. You know, the Muppets, because you never know what's going to happen with the Muppets. So if you don't want to put the time in to go to the Mickey's Christmas Carol 30th anniversary, which is at 1 o'clock on the premiere stage, once again, the bigger stage, that's a good option for you. I also think here there's a couple in the morning that I think, you know, if you don't get into the studios, but this is the sexy Marvel Studios, Lucasfilm, Avatar Day, right? Like the big tentpole films.
Mm-hmm.
But behind the scenes of the Imagineering Special Effects and Development Lab, those guys are super passionate. I would see them anytime. The making of the Disney 100 exhibit is fascinating.
Now, this is an exhibit that's going to be opening in February of 2023,
right,
in Philadelphia.
And as part of that presentation, they're going to be announcing where it's going after that. Mm-hmm. So, obviously it's not as exciting going to see the actual exhibit, but sometimes hearing how Disney is choosing to showcase their 100th anniversary is interesting. And I wouldn't also want to say this is also a good value presentation at 10:30, the premiere stage, the Talking Pets with the Vets. Obviously not mainline Disney, but big stage and some famous vets. And people are passionate about these vets. Whether it's Dr. Oakley, Dr. Pole, the critter fixers, they just love being there and being part of it and sharing their passion for animals. So I wouldn't sleep on that one either. And that might be one where you can, okay, maybe I put in for standby for the archive stage, but if I don't get into that, then I can go. Your premiere stage, I think, will end up being your safety stage, where standby is probably going to be able to get in.
Hi, Monique. Thanks for stopping by. Justin apparently remembers camping out for a live action panel in hopes of a Drew poster, or at least a Marvel poster, and got a wrinkle in time. That sounds like a bit of a letdown.
The things that they don't need to promote, they don't need to promote.
There you go. There you go. The Women in Fashion panel is going to be moderated by the founder of Disney Bound. It's going to feature 4 fashion icons within that Disney fashion realm. So they're going to be talking about collaborations. They're going to be talking about design. So obviously that's a different kind of panel that you aren't just, going to find all over the place, and an interesting look into how we end up with some of the fashions that we find as Disney fans. So if wanted to be sure you knew a little bit beyond the title there, what you will find with that presentation. Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur will also be on the Hyperion stage. I think, were you in attendance at the Comic-Con?
I was not. Don't remember who was. But,
yeah, me neither.
Someone was. Yeah, and this is coming in 2023. This is from not from Marvel Studios, but from Disney Television Animation. But tells us, it's about Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Has a pop-in soundtrack produced by Lawrence Fishburne. So it's they did a good job at Comic-Con. So this might be a good option for you too.
And the trailer for the show is out there, so you can give it a peek, see if it's something that you'd like to dive in and know a little bit more about. You don't have to go in totally blind on it. You can have some idea as to what it is. Look on Laughing Place. We've written a bit about Marvel's Moon Girl, probably written about the presentation at Comic-Con, give you a feel of what you can expect if you go.
And even though I know Comic-Con was just a month ago, if they do promise there'll be new stuff, so it's not just
always
retread. Though the big thing here, this is the hard ticket for this whole thing outside of the Hall D23 is going to be that 1 o'clock on the premiere stage. And I know I just said the premiere stage is like the safety stage, but maybe not for this one. 30 Years of Muppet Christmas Carol. It's also, this one's taking place between the big Hall D23 panels. So I think this is going to be sort of a de facto Hall D23 panel. Because, for those that, you're going to have the 8,000 people that would normally be Hall D23 looking for something to do. So if this at all interests you, much to against my own interests, I would recommend doing this one as your number one.
Yeah, I think this will be a rather popular one. The Muppets themselves are popular. Christmas is popular. You put it together, and yeah.
I'm trying to think of a way to say this without sounding like I'm dropping a name, but so I'm just going to say I would highly recommend going to that panel.
Yep, I have the impression that will be a lot of fun, and one that you will want to be there in person. That's what I'm expecting. That's what it feels like. Let's see. Yes, the exhibit will have a sneak peek at the celebration. It's actually launching. The archives will have an exhibit, which once again, that will eat part of the time that you're looking at trying to do your scheduling here. So, don't get too invested in this part. This is what we know now. But once you get there, have some flexibility, because you may find that, you have this fast pass. No, they're calling them stage pass, right? You have your stage pass to the 11:45 Hyperion stage for Marvel's Moon Girl, but you can see this exhibit over here, the line is accessible to you, you're in it, you don't want to leave it, you know, those kinds of things can happen. So as Ben said, when it comes to conventions, you really have to try to not think about all the things you're not doing. Be present in what you are doing. Just invest in what you are doing, because there's just so much going on all at once that if your FOMO is over, you will just drown. You will drown in FOMO.
I mean, it's those smaller not presentations, those moments that happen. Like I've peed next to some incredible Disney luminaries at Expo. You know, it's you can't let FOMO take, just like Comic-Con. You can't let FOMO take over, because you can't. It's a physical impossibility to do every cool thing happening. So don't worry about what you don't get to see.
Yeah. Let's see, Ben. It's a Small Disney World. This is an Art of Disney Parks presentation.
Yeah, focused on merchandise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially items that are available on the marketplace. So that's what you'll find with that presentation. So I guess we are getting into the late afternoon. We've got some Marvel happening on the backlot stage. We've got
this terribly named presentation called in Hall D23, Disney's Epic Entertainment Showcase, the musical, The Extravaganza. That's Disney branded television. So what does that mean? That means National Treasure, the National Treasure, whose subtitle I'm forgetting right now. The series
Book of Secrets.
Book of Secrets. Thank you. American Born Chinese, Muppet Mayhem. Anything coming out of the Zombies or Descendants franchises, some documentaries on Disney and others. So that's where this is. Disney brand television, whether it's Disney Channel or Disney Plus. The Disney Channel, has a different kind of vibe that Disney brand television has, because Disney brand television is going to have a much wider net. This is also where, Percy Jackson would live. So this is another one of the big content presentations of celebrities, announcements, trailers, etc., etc., etc.
Doobie's asking, are there any after hours events, those that are not during the specific expo hours of 9 to 7, either official or unofficial?
So Saturday night, it's sold out, but they're doing a special D23 Expo attendee Oogie Boogie Bash. Historically, the Disney D23 Expo is not like Comic-Con, where it's just party after party after party, just different vibe, which, much to my chagrin, actually. I mean, I think that's part of the fun of Comic-Con, but and you never know either what will happen. I mean, I know one year when Fantasmic debuted, everyone at the parks presentation was invited to go see Fantasmic, which was sort of surprise soft opening, even though it wasn't much of a surprise. Nothing announced outside of the Oogie Boogie Bash, but you never know.
And in regards to the Hall D Extravaganza, once again, we're going to have on not part of this, over in other parts of the expo, you'll be able to experience some of those topics with these immersive experiences. They're going to have an immersive experience related to American Born Chinese. They're going to have one related to National Treasure, Edge of History. I said Book of Secrets. It's Edge of History.
Book of Secrets was the second
movie.
Yeah. If I think about the National Treasure, so they try to find places more local they could go, because of COVID, right? So they went to Graceland. So you think Nicolas Cage is like kicking himself now that he's not in it? They went to Graceland?
I don't know. That's kind of funny. I hadn't thought about it. So I just bring those up because if you do put in for Hall D23 and then you end up not getting it, that isn't the only access that you'll have to some of these Disney properties. You'll be able to experience them through other ways at the event. Let's see. Yes, go ahead.
This will be addressed in the series. It's the same.
So there you go, Justin. A little bit of insight there. Anything? Let's
And
see.
September 30th is the day for Hocus Pocus too. Just
Thank you. Anything on these stages that you want to make sure people don't overlook? I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Cautionary tales with Ridley Pearson, right? I mean, the author.
Yeah, I think here's the one that you might not want to sleep on. Once again, in the big stage, a celebration of Disney animations Encanto. To me, I would not be surprised if this has sort of a theatrical element to it. So as opposed, sometimes it can get a little tiresome to just see, okay, here's your moderator and here's 5 panelists talking Disney. Like, I mean, it's great, but after 12 of these things, you get the picture.
Feels more classroom than
I feel like this is going to be a little bit more of a show.
Okay.
So just if this is not necessarily an hour of listening to about the creation of Encanto, although I'm sure it will be touched upon, it may be more immersive than that.
Oh, that'd be fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. As long as it includes a sing-along of We Don't Talk About Bruno, I'm in.
Also, the 2:00 Spider-Man presentation, this is something that's kind of like Marvel's been kicking around for a while. But if you're not a Marvel fan, but you want to dip your toes in, this is a good way because Editor-in-Chief C.B. Savosky, as long as I believe his title is Executive Editor Nick Lowe, they're just fun. They're fun, engaging people. So it's going to be exciting, even if you're not a super Marvel fan. So if you want to kind of get to know, Spider-Man's obviously an accessible character. That one's just going to be sometimes. I think Rebecca can second me on this. Sometimes just the topic may be more interesting, but if the panelists are boring, the panel is still boring, or the topic could be less interesting, or you might not be as engaged, but the panelist is exciting, then the panel is exciting. So, so that comes into play too.
I liked the description that they gave in the paperwork. They say tantalizing trivia about the webbed wonder will be shared in this can't miss panel. Be sure to swing by. Yeah, and then, by the way, they do also say there's a special exclusive giveaway while supplies last that will be revealed in the coming weeks. So apparently, we're going to know what's available when we get there. Matt C is asking a question that I've been asked several times, and I wonder if you have any insight on this. They're not doing the overnight queue. What do you anticipate will be the reality of people seeking entrance?
Well, seeking and what's official might not be the same, but I would not encourage you to get there before 5.
You said you do not encourage people to get there before 5?
Correct. That is the official time. It's more complicated this year just because of COVID restrictions and some other things going on in Anaheim. So there's no overnight queuing. I don't know what that means. Now, you can't, whenever there's not an official queue, people create unofficial queues. So, but at the same time, what do if you don't need to, I'm not aware of something where you need to be the first person in there, especially with the way they're handling shopping and show floor experiences this year. So, and so I wouldn't try and kill yourself to get there.
Right.
You'll know, the nice thing about this process is you're going to have some idea of what you're guaranteed to get into. And then you can make a decision of, hey, do I want to get there early to try and get in the standby for X, Y, or Z? And then you can make that decision once you know what you got into. Because if let's say you get into Legends, they'll tell you what time to get there. You don't need to be getting there earlier. So just follow their guidance.
And as we talked about at the top of the show, if you are just joining us, maybe you can hit rewind at some point, because we did talk kind of like tips that we can share from our 7 years. 7, not years specifically, but 7 different. This will be our 7th Expo, and historically, day 1 entrance has been complicated and has taken far longer than you would anticipate it to take. And we are interested to see how it will be executed this year.
Can I be perfectly honest? What I would do is, if you want to watch the Legend ceremony, go to your hotel, watch the Legend ceremony. Because they're kicking off the Disney 100. That's going to be completely live streamed, and then go in, because that first I understand the desire to be in the room where it happens, but at the same time, don't kill yourself trying to get in on the first day when it'll be so much smoother by day 2 and 3.
And the nice thing is, people are there with Twitter, so you can look. You don't have to venture into it. If it looks disastrous on Twitter, take your cue from Twitter. I like I've said before, I have awakened. I have looked at Twitter, and I have opted instead to go have breakfast on Main Street instead before venturing into the expo, because the wait times to get in were so lengthy at first. I'm hopeful that will not be the case this year, because this year they're really creating in people an expectation different, because previously it was first come first serve for pretty much all of your seminars, but now you're telling people register for this event, register for this time. And so my hope is that since they have put that in our heads as the consumer, that they will meet the expectation that you told me I was making this reservation. I think you should also make sure that I can access it in a reasonable fashion.
Yeah, well, that's why it might be even crazy the first day, is because people are used to it being nuts, so they get there earlier than they really need to. And so, as I said, Star Wars Celebration does something similar for their big presentations, and it's a little different but similar. So you have an idea of what you're going to get into, and that just kind of takes a lot of the pressure off. And then you can assume you're not going to get into something you didn't get. Now, if you luck into it, or you see on Twitter, hey, there's plenty of room in here, come on in, which happens. I mean, something can sell out, but because there's no shows or there's something else that pops up, you can get in. That happens every time. There's always standby people. There's always presentations that are fully booked that go half empty. So, but you can follow that on social media to kind of gauge where you want to go, outside of the ones that you're guaranteed. And I don't know what, when you book your RSP, how many you're going to get. It's random. So you could get everything you want, or you could get nothing you want. It's going to kind of depend on supply and demand. So, I think once you get your list, then you can kind of decide, hey, what do I want to do? And don't forget to plan in show floor time. So, don't go panel, because it's going to take time to get, you can't leave a panel at 2, because first of all, they never end on time. And then, and then go someplace else at 2:15. It's not going to work. So, right. Have those buffer times in.
And the other dynamic in this is that a lot of vendors have limited edition merchandise. And so there is a certain level of first come, first serve within that dynamic. So you're dealing with that element within this as well. So it's very interesting. Ben, have you heard anything regarding how they will handle people with preferred seating? Has there been any word out there yet?
The preferred seating is only for Hall D23, and there will be a preferred seating entrance. I'm not sure if it's to the show floor, but or I should say into the building, not the show floor. There will not be preferred entrances to show floor. But for those that want to go into Hall D23, there will be an entrance for the preferred seating folks to get into Hall D23.
Yeah, that is one thing that I kind of am hoping we'll see that opening day, is that we will see people who have the RSPs be able to have an access that may be different than those of us who are just trying to get into the show floor or get into the standby queue or whatnot. But my experience tells me I'm not going to bank on it, but I'm hopeful.
I think there will be a line to get into the show floor, and a different line for stage pass for Hall D23, and a different. I think there'll be a Hall D23 stage pass line, a Hall D23 standby line, and an everything else line.
Yeah. So we'll just see. We'll be there. Like I say, follow socials. If you're somebody who really doesn't like to fight crowds, follow socials so you know what you're entering into. As we get later in the day on Saturday, Ben, any of these, the Building Waltz Florida project, the Zootopia, anything jumping out at you from those?
What tears me apart on this one is, so you have that the Disney brand television one, which will end like at 5. And then, so at 6:00, do I go for the Zootopia Plus in the smaller stage, or I go for the Santa Clauses on the bigger stage? I think with Tim Allen and just sort of his Disney legendness, I think that's where I would go. But I would be fine with either one of those.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a new animated series. Yeah, I think I would be more inclined towards a chat amongst the Santa Clauses as
Yeah.
well.
Alex has been very passionate about Zootopia Plus. He saw some from at Annecy.
Okay.
So like his enthusiasm is a little contagious, but I think you'll have more opportunity to hear from that than maybe you will from the Santa Clauses, just because animators are not celebrities as much as they should be, but they're not.
By the way, we appreciate the likes we've been receiving on the stream. If you're enjoying it, please give us a like. It helps other people find us. Also, be sure to stay tuned to Laughing Place. Maybe subscribe to the channel and get notified. As we get closer to the expo, we'll continue to have content kind of counting down, letting you know what's happening as we learn more about the expo. Have we heard anything about gold member standby queues like they've had in the past, Ben?
Yeah, I don't believe they're doing that this year.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that.
Gold
either.
members will be receiving a special Walt 100th lithograph by, I believe, artist Eric Tan. But honestly, it's for the best, because that got super confusing and just
And Doobie says, whichever you choose, skip out early for that Hulu dance party. No, don't do that.
I mean, you never know. Sometimes there is this thing where they got something approved, so they're kick butt. Like, there was a presentation, it was like the top 10 Disney gifts you should buy, and no one went, but they all got the top 10 Disney gifts. Like, there was a killer gift bag. So you never know.
Yeah, that's part of the fun of the convention, which, by the way, once again, don't suffer from FOMO. Just enjoy what you got, because there's always going to be something going on that you're not a part of that's fun. And now we're going to wrap it up with Sunday. Sunday starts off with a few presentations there in the 10 o'clock hour. You've got some Nat Geo and Disney, 100 years of exploring the world through storytelling over on the archive stage. What can you tell us about that?
That's cool. That's going to be like talking about where Disney and Nat Geo have intersected before they became one company. So, I think we all know, well, I don't want to gatekeep, but there's that famous issue, I believe from 1963 of National Geographic, which with Walt Disney, it's basically that they're treating it like it's an exciting new frontier of Disneyland. But talking about how those have intersected, obviously, Disney has a huge nature heritage as well. So I think that's going to be interesting. I would, if my schedule permitted, I would totally do that. And then speaking of Disney branded television at 10 o'clock on the backlot stage, is about a new documentary coming to Disney Plus called Mickey, the Story of a Mouse, which actually premiered at South by Southwest. I'm going to go out on a limb and will be available on Disney Plus November 18th. I could be wrong, but that would be my guess.
What a guess. Mickey's birthday? It would debut on Mickey's birthday? Who'd have thought?
You really can't go wrong, because at 10:15, you have Revisiting Yesterday's Tomorrow, Disney's Magical Mid-Century, but that's Don Hahn. So Don Hahn's one of those guys where it doesn't matter what he's talking about. It's Don Hahn. He'll make it funny and exciting. So, he wrote that book a few years ago. Not the most current presentation in terms of like promotional activity, but you could go to any one of the things happening, including obviously parks. Which brings this, I believe it's actually going to be just Disney Parks and Experiences.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. And which is the sort of announcement focused panel where Robert Downey Jr. won't show up.
And that original documentary is going to be hosted. The panel is going to be hosted by Brett Ewan, who is a delightful personality, and so you're going to have his energy as well brought to the stage as he talks about the creation of this documentary, the little bit of the history of Mickey. So I mean, come on, it's hosted by Mickey. How can you go wrong? So
and then the safety one here, I think, is the Proud Family. It's in the big stage, and they've been making the rounds, Annecy, Comic-Con, and talking about the new season, so they'll have something to share as well. So you should be able to get into something, even if you can't get into Stage Pass during that sort of 10 o'clock hour, because you really can't go wrong at that time. I would happily see any of these.
Doobie, you have to log back in as Laughing Place. I don't think you have moderator privileges. You have to sign in on the LP account in order to be able to share a link. Sorry, honey. Let's see. And like Ben says, we've done a lot of coverage of the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. So if you want to know a little bit more about it before you decide to use up one of your 4 stage pass reservations, you can find out more information on Laughing Place.
So Doobie, one of the co-founders of Laughing Place, is actually good friends with Jason Bateman. So maybe Doobie, who is always mentioning his association with Jason Bateman, can get that answer for you.
Yeah, it's such a falsehood. Let's see. Hey, can you tell me anything about this 40 Years of Tron? Because apparently that has Justin very excited.
Yeah, it's 40 Years of Tron. I think the El Capitan just did a presentation on Tron, which may have been sort of a trial run on this, although this might be a bigger in scope. Obviously, Tron's having a renaissance right now with the attraction coming to Magic Kingdom and presumably more content. Coming soon from the Tron franchise. So, I mean, to me, if I'm a Tron fan, as much as I'm excited about this panel, I'm more excited that Disney on a corporate level wanted to have this panel. This isn't on the archive stage. This is on this is on a backlot stage, So this is a real deal. Even got a sponsor, Enterprise.
And so, now, I believe they are also the sponsor of the Tron Light/Run.
Right.
So I'm just.
Yeah, so I think I think if you're a Tron fan, and you don't know everything already, I mean, I don't think this is going to be like, announcement heavy. They may talk a little bit about the attraction, but this is going to be, there's so much. There's because of the technique involved. There's so many great stories about Tron, so many great matte paintings. I've been thinking about Tron a lot because if you haven't watched the fantastic documentary on Disney Plus, Light and Magic, Harrison Ellis pops up and talks about matte paintings, and he obviously I almost consider Tron to be his pièce de résistance. It's like the apex of his illustrious career, although he did many great things after that. This was really his so much special effects. It's not they had to make things look computer generated, but they couldn't actually do it because wasn't there yet. So although obviously there is computer imagery in it. So I think that's, if you're a Tron fan, definitely do that. Make that a higher priority too. If you're particularly passionate about Tron, it is in one of the smaller stages. So
okay.
The one so this National Geographic books on 100 Disney Adventures of a Lifetime is a book by sort of famed author Marcy Carmichael Smothers. It's going to be a book that talks about 100 great things you can do, like go on adventures by Disney, down the Galapagos, or go here, go there. I would just get the book and read it and find out what the 100 adventures are. While she is a good presenter, I don't know that this audience is going to finally discover some amazing Disney experience they didn't know about. A good entry-level presentation, if you're looking for something. But when it's almost a disservice that Bill Farmer discussing Goofy at 90 years with Dorothy McKim and Becky Cline is on the smaller stage, because that's getting Bill talking about Goofy is instant fun. So that would be my highlight at this 12 o'clock hour.
Yeah, see, for me, it would definitely be the archive stage, the animated conversation. You've got Becky Cline talking with Bill Farmer and animator Eric Goldberg. And for me, those types of conversations, Bill Farmer himself, the voice of Goofy, for those who maybe don't, immediately attach the name. So those kinds of chats amongst the luminaries of Disney are, take advantage of them while they're still here, while they're still doing this.
Not that Bill's got one foot in the grave, but
what?
Not that Bill's got one foot. He's not that.
No. But I mean, while they're still doing this, there's going to come a time when they're not going to want to sit up there and be chatting about this stuff. It gets, after a while. How many different times can you tell the story?
And Bill's great. You want to go to these things where they want to be there, and
yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about character voices in a little bit too.
No, I wasn't trying to kill him off. I was totally just speaking.
Do him well. Go see him before he gets.
No, I specifically said while he's still doing. Okay, fine. But no, that's what I'm saying is Bill Farmer, tremendous presentation and energy, and same with Eric Goldberg and hosted by Becky, who we've seen host at Destination D, had a delightful one-on-one that she did with Dick Nunes that was just legendary. So let's see.
Yeah, if you get to see Dick Nunes, go to that. I don't care what. Go see Dick Nunes talk.
Oh, and producer Dorothy McKim also is going to be a part of that panel.
Before he was host of It's a Dog Life.
I know. Whoa.
Justin, man.
Hi.
By the way, I love that show, and I'm so upset I don't get to get a second season.
Mike Mack, Trollmaker. Let's see.
Also, this Imagineering panel, I want to just call out just because it's going to be one of those, like, talking the history of Imagineering things, but it's on the premiere stage, which is the bigger stage. Once again, an opportunity where maybe the more focused presentations are going to be harder to get into just because of size. So, this might be an opportunity for you to push that one up your list a little bit because it might be a safer bet.
Okay. Dude, I feel like we needed to have done this more like an over-under, like more like fantasy football.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you really got to do. It's like you got to really it's like you're drafting. It's exactly what it is. That's like, and because you want to get in the ones that you think you want to see that other people won't, but if there's something you really want to see, that you got to put that at number one before someone else takes it. Yeah, it's totally like fantasy football.
Yeah. I'm so not wired that way. I'm just gonna sit probably Wednesday afternoon, maybe Thursday afternoon, and be like, let me see, and just hit it up and see what I end up with. The electrical parade, that's going to feature individuals who were part of the team involved with it 50 years ago, they say. So they say there's going to be some never before seen film footage. So that'll be there too.
We kind of joke how it's like it's going to be around for another 150 years, so who cares? But the early history of the electrical parade is really fascinating. And if you haven't gotten the deep dive yet, I would recommend you getting that chance.
And I kind of hope that they also just dive into the reality of what a savior this parade has been. How when the park kind of starts to dip, it's like, bring out the old gal one more time.
It's like the Ryan Fitzpatrick of parades.
Doobie says his important tip is visit the Laughing Place booth and come meet Doobie, and Gideon and Kyle and Becca will all be there throughout the day at the Laughing Place booth.
Or 3 or 4. But as a Bruin at 2:15, I got to go to the 100 Years of Magic at Disney Tour of the UCLA. UCLA, fight. Proud member of the Big Ten Film and Television Archive.
Okay.
3:45 though. This is another sort of meet the next generation of Nat Geographic. It's not, I know, super sexy Disney wise, but these are super impressive people that give presentations that you have to spend money to see buy a ticket of, that go tour museums around the country. So don't sleep on it if you're looking for some, you're trying to find something to do on that stage. Also might be a good one to do standby if you already kind of spent your 4 reservations on.
Apparently UCLA is your dad's, is Justin's father's alma mater. My father's is USC, so I have remained silent during that outburst of school pride.
Rebecca's father was only good ones.
And let's see, the Disney Parks Through the Decades, a Disney Ambassador Perspective. This is a talk with Disney ambassadors. I'm
through the years.
Yeah, I'm envisioning this being a kind of similar to what we saw with Destination D recently in Walt Disney World, where we had the individuals who really were kind of the spokespeople for Disney World there during those ambassador roles, and learning more about what the ambassador does throughout various time periods. So these are well-spoken people. These are people who were the face of the resort at some point in Disney history. So it is going to I find them always fascinating.
And what's interesting too is they can tell you sort of like the stories that other people won't share, like because they might not even work there anymore. And not that you're gonna get anything super scandalous, but it's a lot more of like the craziness that happens when you're involved in opening things. Whereas like a Disney executive isn't going to focus on the crazy. You get a lot of the crazy here, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it says specifically that it says from representing Walt Disney in the 60s to opening Walt Disney World, experience the history of Disney parks. So that's why when I read the description, my mind went immediately to that presentation that we had at Destination D.
Which was
endless, fascinating. Yeah, it was so good. So,
but why do that when you can go see American Horror Stories behind the screens? Once again, if that's your thing, great. I'm glad it is. I'm glad that they're here, but not my thing. Never seen it. I'm a security cat. Also,
I will say, can I just bring up a little point in regards to that, Ben? There's this little part of me who's a little nervous with these additions now that at Disney's empire has grown, because I am squeamish, like I'm a wimp like you, and I really hope that I don't have to face fears very easily. I hope there's kind of like a step between me. Like I don't want to have Mickey Mouse and then whatever those creepy dolls were from Comic-Con, side by side.
I don't think you're gonna see that. I think if you go in, you'll see some stuff, but don't go in
to enter
the backlot stage at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want to have to choose to partake. I don't want it to just be looming over me on the side of a hotel like at Comic-Con.
Right. Yeah. It's a different vibe. It's a different show. Now for Hall D23, here's an important thing: the Disney Princess the concert live. So they historically have done great concerts at D23 on Sundays. Not super hard to get into. If you're looking to book a Hall D23, prioritize first parks, then this number 2, because odds are you will be able to get into this even if you do not get a stage pass. Particularly, even people might think, because by Sunday people are trying to leave, they're tired, don't want to put up with it. The Princess concert has toured, many places already. So, and it's fantastic, and I would check it out. But this is probably the easiest thing of all 3 days to get into at D23 Expo in Hall D23.
Historically, I have been able to walk up very close. I've waited, but like very close to showtime. It's in essence been okay. I got like 20 minutes until showtime, and I get in the queue and I get into the arena for these final showcases where it's been typically music. I believe we had it was Tarzan theme last expo, right? And then the Michael Morrison. No, Matt Morrison. Oh, the guy from Glee, the Glee singer, did some sort of jazz blues.
I know they've done Disney on Broadway. I know they did a Frozen one. It's been too many.
They blend together after a while. No, I know. But
I don't think we're going to go because I can see the full version. You pay a ticket. But for those that maybe are visiting in or didn't get a ticket or it's already passed them by, there's a great opportunity. I mean, if you can hear, not Pedro O'Hara, Susan Egan sing Belle, Beauty and the Beast, and I Won't Say I'm in Love. You take that opportunity.
Exactly.
But it's something that other people have already had the experience to do. They've done concerts at Downtown Disney and Disney Springs and things. The one thing that I will say is going to be a hard ticket, I think, is at the Hyperion stage, which again one of the smaller stages, the World of Duffy and Friends. Not so much that it appeals to everybody, but for those that it does appeal to, they're particularly passionate. So,
and this particular event is coming at an interesting time in that the day before the expo starts, Tokyo Disney is going to welcome a new friend into the World of Duffy. And so we are going to have that kind of happening with Lena Bell.
Lena Bell.
And so we've got that. And then the following day, the 9th, Hong Kong Disneyland. And so now on the 11th, we'll have this event. So, I think that will build even more hype in regards to this panel as well.
And then in the evening slot, one thing unlike Comic-Con, they treat Sunday just like every other day. Comic-Con Sunday, 5 o'clock, you're done. If not then. But you have Memories of Walt Disney World, which is about that Disney World 50 book. So Tim O'Day, Kevin Kern. The Dancing with the Stars celebration, once again, remember, it's on Disney Plus this year, so it might be a little bit more Disney than it has been in the past.
And this presentation, they mentioned the hosted by Tyra and Alfonso.
Right. So just to be careful, do not keep all the wiffle bats away from the presentation, because if you get hit in the special area, Alfonso will have a different show. Great, he can just send it right up to him.
Oh, there you go.
And Disney D23 Expo has a long history and heritage of the America's Funniest Home Videos hosts participating. So, but I mean, I think here, all things being equal, which are not, you got to make your own personal choices. Character voices, that's always a great way to do it.
Tyra at her best. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, character voices. Although, just make sure you don't miss the final event of the experience, the dance party.
Now, with the character voices, there's always the hope that you will get to experience a live reading. They have at times done that when they've gathered character voices in a panel thing where they've read through a script kind of live, and that's a lot of fun. And then with regards to the memories of Walt Disney World, who's the other author on that book?
Steve Magnani.
Steve was part of Destination D. That was the first time that I'd seen him as a presenter, and really engaging. So once again, it's a book, and that doesn't necessarily jump out at you as like, woohoo, author panel. For some people, but these two have a lot of personality, and so I'm excited by the idea of this particular panel. But that's just me.
I mean, Steven's one of the nicest guys in the world.
Okay.
So
he actually was featured recently. I don't know if I think I sent you the tweet. I mean the image. I screen grabbed it because I jumped up and down. The Sirius XM does that Be Our Guest, and he was a host not too long ago, and so I was like,
and not to name drop, but I'm totally gonna do it. It's just so weird because Steven worked Pirates of the Caribbean while I was on Main Street. Like, okay, I just mean like in the socks and everything.
Fun.
And he's always just been, even as he's gone and done amazing things, working for Imagineering, the archives, what have you. He's never lost his kind heart, and is just one of the best guys you can ever meet. So,
cool. So there you go. So you want to support a cool guy who has been a pirate at some point in his Disney career. There you go.
I would like to say I hope Doobie's going to dress up as Bunny.
By the way, that's one of the things you're going to get to do at the expo. They're going to have, you can become a Mabel painting. So they're going to
you can be murdered.
No. It's you can become a resident of the Arconia and get your own kind of representation of the. That was the way I interpreted the text of.
Does Doobie watch that show, or does this Martin Short thing like preclude him from?
No, I actually got him to watch it. I'm very excited because I love it. It's like one of my. I'm counting down. Yeah, it says become a resident of the famed Arconia with your very own Mabel Mora style portrait with Hulu original. Thanks to Hulu Originals, Only Murders in the Building. Apparently, you can also be the star of your own nightmare while celebrating American Horror Stories. So I'm sure Ben's going to be right there. Here's my favorite, though. Here's one thing I never thought I'd do at a Disney Expo. You ready? Think you have what it takes to be a Kardashian? Give it your best strut. You get to be the Kardashian seventh sister. Ta-da!
Isn't that one of the villains?
Right?
I gotta say, I never really thought about it, but can you get any more Disney for a non-Disney product than Steve Martin, Selena Gomez, and Martin Short? I mean, it's like
so many layers.
Disney legend Steve Martin, Disney Channel Games participant Selena Gomez, and insemination expert Martin Short. That it's just like they have huge Disney credits.
Yeah, I was gonna say representative Canadian, but okay, I'll go with the other, I guess.
The fact that Making of Me existed needs to never be forgotten. There needs to be a panel at D23 2024. I want a Making of Me panel.
There we go. I it would be quite the fun if they did show up. One can only hope, but that would be a hoot and a half. Okay, so I'm double checking to be sure because I feel like we talked about everything. Did we miss anything you wanted to be sure to talk
I
about?
just want to reiterate in simple terms. We kind of went in and out of it strategy here. So try and find the ones that you are interested in that you think other people won't be. Try to find ones that are in bigger theaters that you're passionate about versus others, and really try and then round it out with things that and don't be afraid to go standby. So just and that's what it's nice that they're doing it so that the big presentations are sort of their own RSP, so you don't need to worry about including those. So you get to pick 4 of the smaller stages every day. So pick the 4 that you think are think about ease of getting into, but balancing out of your desire to see it, and rate accordingly. And every person's going to be different. So,
yep.
It's there's probably one thing we've said here is something that you're super passionate about that is more specific, whether that's Tron, Duffy, the 90s all new Mickey Mouse Club. There's always going to be, so focus on those because there's other things that are maybe more generic that, if you are in the Disney community, you might be able to explore in other avenues as well.
And don't totally shut down if you don't get it, because there's going to be a standby queue. Be patient with the standby queue. In the past, I have been to Expo. I have been told the panel's full. I have walked away only to get a text from a friend. I just walked up and went right in. I returned to the place and they're like, oh no, we reopened it. So be a little bit patient, because sometimes the communication is not, like I say, this is not a Disney theme park. This is a con. This is a convention. And there are varying dynamics of communication at play. And one of the most challenging elements to me, as somebody who's used to Disney, where I feel like I get rather clear communication, is that is not an aspect of this Disney event.
Well, also too, keep in mind that there's people are going to book their 4, right? They're going to book 4, even though going to see 4 in a day is probably not the best idea anyway. So they're going to no-show, and they're always because they want to get as much as they can. And then they realize, oh, you know what? I do want to go on the show floor, or what? I do want to eat lunch. And, maybe I'm not so super passionate about this. So even though I want it, I'm not going to actually go. So there's always tons and tons of no-shows. And so, because you see, you can just see it because they'll book up and then you'll go in and there's empty. I mean, not necessarily for the bigger stuff, but, just don't be afraid if it's super important to you. But then you got to balance that out as well, where, are you willing to put in the time required to then, when you could be doing something else. So you have to sort of internalize, like, pick your top 2 things a day and focus on your life to get those 2 things. And I'm not talking about, put in for the big haul D23 ones and then pick 2 other things a day, and try and make those work, whether it's standby or stage pass. And then the show floor and seeing friends and meeting new people, that'll fill up the rest of the day. So.
Because, we haven't touched on it here, but we will be back with an additional show at some point where we talk about the fact there's going to be, you've got the Expo Marketplace, that's 27,000 square feet of retail. Then you've got Mickey's of Glendale. You've got Disney Publishing that's going to have so many different titles available. You're going to have World of Wakanda merchandise available. You're going to have a new collection of merchandise from Ashley Eckstein with focusing on Ahsoka Tano. There's also going to be virtual queues this year for some of the shopping. So that means you're going to be able to kind of, do that like we do at the parks, where we can kind of book a spot And so once you know that you're going to get in at a certain time, that's also going to shift and impact. And that may cause some people to go, oh, you know what? I know I can access, say, Mickey's of Glendale, at this time. That may take priority for them over their previously booked thing if it, ends up being that kind of dynamic. So the challenge this year is that this is a different dynamic that we've had. We haven't had this before. It's been registered on site, and you've been able to see kind of the shows fill up through the day because it's been happening on site. This, we're going to go in knowing which one's booked up, and then we'll know more about like standby and that type of thing as we get closer. Yes,
well, one minor correction is
Thank
that
you.
last year you were able to book up in advance, but it was first come, first serve. So you booked up, they picked a day, it was miserable. People were able to book. I think they were able to book one morning, one afternoon for each day.
Gotcha.
This year you have until you have this whole week to kind of, you can plan it and then talk to your friends and be like, whatever. The other thing I should mention is when you book your reservation, it'll ask if you want to bring a guest. So you can even kind of use that strategy as well. So, if you have a friend, if you, let's say Duffy, you have a friend and you're both very passionate about Duffy. If you both get in, if only one of you gets in, then you can bring the other person.
Yeah, you can both put it down as something you're interested in and bring a guest. And so if you don't get it, then maybe they did. So you give yourself more opportunity to have access by having that partner who's also trying to get into the arena.
Which is another reason that no shows are a real thing, is right, because everyone's going to presumably say they have a guest. So and
I just put I want to put this up on screen because as we said, the reservations have opened now, and they will conclude, it says Friday, August 19th at 12 p.m. Pacific. So you are able to do it. It is not first come, first serve, this process. You are entering your name into a lottery. And so what's going to happen is the window to enter your name is going to end Friday at noon Pacific, like they've said. And then starting on September 2nd, which I find it funny, they say starting on September 2nd, reservations will be assigned and communicated to you. So begin to look for it around the 2nd. Obviously, there'll be more communications as that time frame approaches.
I would recommend to book, you don't need to rush and do it right now. Think about it, and then put them in sometime before Friday. They will email you a confirmation that will list everything that you put in for. Take a beat, because it's the interface. It's not bad, it's complicated because it's a complicated process. You have different days and different stage passes and different types of things. They'll send you an email confirmation, which will basically list everything you did by day and in sort of a more readable format. And then you can take a look and say, okay, you know what? Maybe this thing I put at number 2 is really what I want to have number 1. You can go in until Friday and change it. So, you don't have to be married to what you put in first go around, assuming you do it, before Friday. So I just find it helpful to kind of, because there's I don't know why you feel pressure, but you do feel pressure to kind of like take in the test, and you have all the different numbers, but you can lock it in and then go in and change it.
And so, so there you go. So that's the schedule for the D23 Expo as has been announced so far, the various stages and what they will be offering throughout the 3 days of the event. Stay tuned to Laughing Place as announcements continue to pour in, like the games announcement, games showcase that was just today, I believe, is when that announcement was published, and we made sure to give you all the information on that.
The other thing that we might get before Friday is the legends, so that might impact your, if it's someone you've always wanted to see in person versus, I mean, they're obviously going to be, legendary people there, but everyone has their own passions, and that might change the way you view that particular presentation, considering the alternate is the first studio's presentation. Where those rank for you might change depending on who the legends are.
So good luck with your reservations. Look forward to hearing about your experiences as we discuss the expo leading up to it. And then once it's over, we'll be here to do a wrap up. All of our team who are at the event are going to be talking about our experiences, and we welcome your input at that time too. We want to hear how much fun you had, and hopefully you'll stop by the Laughing Place booth. We will be there at the show and excited to meet you and discuss Disney, because that's what we do around here, talking about all things Disney all the time. We're laughingplace.com. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you all real soon. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. Don't forget, you never know when we'll go live, so just subscribe, and you never know what will happen. So
yep. Bye.